On StreamYard.
The Beat 139 featuring Doc, Don Vito, and Keith Cash. Harlem's #1 show.
What's up, y'all? How y'all doing?
What's good?
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday, people. Y'all know what it is.
There's
Welcome to the Beat 139. I'm Doc, Shake the Block.
Don Vito, voice for the peoples. It's getting close to Christmas, man. How you feel about that, man?
It's good, man. But December is 1 month. Everybody gonna spend extra money. You got your regular bills and the money you spend, but December is a big bill.
Yeah, I had a conversation. Me and you had a conversation. Like a lot of people spend a lot of money in December, right? And don't realize January right around the corner. And the bill collectors ain't trying to hear none of that type of stuff, man.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Think like this. Kids, Christmas is the kids. So you take care of them, and then let's say you're going out on New Year's. So now you spending on the outfit, and then the clothes be like $100. So that's all in December.
Yeah, December.
Yeah.
The reason why I say that, because I did that 1 year. I was spinning and looking out and spinning. And January came around, I said, oh man, I'm a little tight right now. you know what I mean? But this year we're not doing that.
That's why a lot of people, especially like girls for the most part,
yeah,
they mess their money up in December and rely on the income tax.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they get the income tax, they behind.
Well, they start making phone calls
They
to try to get a
behind
couple dollars.
months.
Yeah. Without further ado, we're going to start the show. So before I introduce the guests, we met this gentleman last week sometime on Rikers Island, and we have a mentorship program there. And we had some of our PICs, what they call it, prisoners in custody, were at the graduation, and we met this guy right here, goes by the name of Jay Dow, works for Pix 11. He's a broadcast journalist. So everybody, clap your hands for Jay Dow. What up, Jay? How you doing, Jay? Yeah, Jay. We appreciate you. I'm gonna say that first and foremost.
Well, I'm grateful for you having me.
We appreciate you, and we gonna the interview process. A lot of people see you on television. They recognize your face. You know, because when we put the post up, like, oh, y'all gonna have him on there? I'm gonna tune in. You know what I'm saying? So you're very well known, of course, but people don't know your story and where you come from and stuff like that. So can you tell everybody where you're from and how it's like growing up as a youngster?
Well, I mean, it's funny because you said, people recognize me, and every day I pinch myself because, this is year 25 that I've been reporting in New York City.
25.
I basically grew up in front of
Wow.
And I started elementary school in this but it's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I started out in New York 1,
mm-hmm.
and then CBS,
mm-hmm.
and now Pix 11. But I was born in the Caribbean on St. Thomas, Virgin Islands.
Wow.
Okay. Shout out to the Virgin Islands.
Nice. How that was coming up in St.
Oh,
Thomas?
it was beautiful. Beach every Sunday. My parents moved down there.
Well, only on Sundays, man.
Well, I mean, people got to work.
Okay. Okay.
You do the beach every day. You're doing something else.
Yeah, you're right.
So, they moved down there for work,
mm-hmm.
and they had me while they were living down there, and it was beautiful. I still have those memories with me. Then they moved back up, and I grew up right here in Hackensack.
Hackensack.
That's
my town, man. Shout out to Hackensack. Right. How y'all doing?
World.
Small world. So in St. Thomas,
U.S. Virgin Islands.
U.S. Virgin Islands.
Tim Duncan from St. Thomas, right?
Yes, I believe he is.
Yeah, he is.
That's right.
Yeah.
But that's the weather. I mean,
weather all year round.
Beautiful.
Except when the hurricanes come.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it gets rough.
So how was your experience with that?
I vaguely remember one hurricane where it knocked down the retaining wall that was next to the house that we were living in.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that hill because I used to ride. Y'all remember a big wheel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My big wheel had like a power slide on it. I'm dating myself now.
Yeah. Nah, but that big wheel was serious. I had one.
Yeah. But it's crazy. You saying you're from St. Thomas,
yes, sir.
And so I know you're familiar with Rasta Pasta.
Yes.
Now,
and I didn't get a chance to get any because we had to go.
Now, Buster. Now, All my life, I never in my life had Rasta pasta in my
Okay.
life. Never.
Okay.
That was my first time eating it. That when we was on Rikers that day.
Really?
First time. It's crazy. It was so good. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
So I thought maybe you had some, but you missed it.
Well, you know, the first time I had it wasn't on St. Thomas. I mean, I was a little boy. I don't
Right.
have a ton of memories.
Mhm.
And every year that I get older, the memories start to fade a little bit more and more.
Mhm.
But the first time I had Rasta pasta was I was an adult.
You was a dope? Oh
And
wow.
hooked.
Yeah, I'm hooked.
Right.
But I had a bad experience, and I got to call this place out on what it was
Jay, put
30th
the number on it.
130th and 7th Avenue. Now we left Rikers. Now I'm hooked. I said I got to go get some.
Right.
I went all the 130th. I believe it's maybe 133rd, 133rd and 7th on the uptown side. Man, that food was cold, so nasty. It was oxtail Rasta pasta. It was nasty. He bought some today.
You can't get good food everywhere.
That's what they told me. But I'm
Yeah.
thinking, I was
Nah.
just like, man, I just had to have
Nah.
some.
Yeah, but the guy who made it, he told us.
He
He
said,
said, "You ain't gonna get the Rasta pasta that I just made."
yeah.
Because he said he got his little special little touch he put
Right.
on it. You know what I'm saying?
But
'Cause
I
it
didn't
was
know
very
that. I'm a
good.
rookie at that. That's
No, it's the first time I
And
had
had
it
a
too.
little
I ain't
bit.
gonna lie.
I mean, every
I had
night is
maybe
an
11
experiment for me.
noodles.
Every night is an experiment for me when I'm out eating. You know,
Mhm.
like we eat in every neighborhood.
Right.
And I could be in Queens one day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I could be in South Jamaica. I could be in the South Bronx. I could be in East New York. I could be in Harlem.
Wherever you report live at.
Right. And, you know, I worked nights for 10 years.
Mm.
And so my days would start at 2. And so that meant I was eating dinner several times a week.
You work
out
nights
in
what
the
time?
world. Not anymore.
Right.
But when I did, I would start at 2 and I'd finish at the 10 o'clock newscast.
I got you. I got you.
Right. So, I mean, I'm eating dinner out, out in the world every night.
Right.
And it's a roll of the dice, you know, from trying to find a bathroom, begging
Yeah.
somebody in the bodega to let me
Let
go
you in.
downstairs and use the bathroom.
Wherever you report at is where you gotta
Yeah,
you gotta
that's
you gotta eat at
That's
or
it.
do your
so,
thing.
So I know firsthand that you're rolling the dice when you go someplace that you've never been before.
Yeah.
But you know, it's crazy. Like me, him, and all of us right here, we got like a whole new found respect for guys like you because, you know, we late in the game. You've been doing this for a long time, but we do the media too. We have a
Right.
media company, so we know the work it takes. And then you, like you said, you have to love it. We love when we go out, like he said, we get hired. We may be in Staten Island. We did an event in Staten Island. We may be in Long Island. They hired us to
Downtown.
do it. Yeah, downtown. You know, different
Indoor,
places.
outdoor.
Indoor,
I mean, this is
outdoor.
work.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is work.
Yes,
People
it
don't
is.
realize
People
that.
think that when they see you on here, there's
Yeah.
no planning.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
Yeah, ain't that something?
there's a lot of work.
A lot of work.
I tell people that all the time.
Right.
In the add-on to what Doc is saying, one day we was out somewhere, right? And the lady, I forgot who it was, older lady. We was at an event. She says, "How y'all two journalists doing?"
yeah,
So I looked around, journalists. She said, "Yeah, what y'all doing is journalism."
Yeah.
100%.
I was like, "Wow."
Yeah.
Because we self-taught.
Right.
We self-taught. You know, we started from the bottom and we worked our way up.
Mhm.
And everything we did, we would trial and error.
Right.
We would just because we just wanted to do with the will to win.
Right.
And she called us journal. I was like, man, I felt good.
yeah,
behind
it felt
that, man.
good.
Well, I mean, when you say you're self-taught. There's so many people who are in this business
Mhm.
who didn't go to school for it.
Right. Okay.
I'm one of them.
Mhm.
I was going to law school, and you know, my late father was an attorney,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought I wanted to, you know, practice with him.
Follow his
That's-
footsteps.
right? And
Mm.
and I got into, you know, I graduated from college, and I was going to, you know, start studying for the LSATs, the test you need to get into law school.
Mm-hmm.
And my uncle was in the business, in the news business,
Right.
and he also passed away. But I said I just need a summer job just to, you know, put some money in my pocket.
Uh-huh.
While this is the summer after college. I was a political science major,
Right.
and he said, "Give me your resume." And so, you know, he shopped it around while I was applying to a bunch of places, like,
Mhm.
you know, like hourly wage stuff,
Mhm.
just so I could stay local. So he said, "The only thing I could find you is a news assistant's job at CBS."
Mm-hmm.
I was only making $8 an hour,
Wow.
and I had to work the overnight shift. So it really wasn't plush, but
Right.
I had nothing else coming back to me,
Right.
and time was running out. It was just the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, I'll do it. So, you know, I'd go in at midnight, and I was basically just shuffling faxes, you know, just running errands. I wasn't doing anything of worth, you know, during that shift. And it was like a
Mhm.
12-hour shift,
Right.
but just watching what was going on.
Uh-huh.
And I always
Like an
loved to
intern.
write. I was a glorified intern, except I was getting paid $8 an hour.
Right.
And I fell in love with the business.
Mm-hmm.
I told my parents I don't want to go to law school anymore.
Wow.
And I put together a bunch of resume tapes. Back then, they were on VHS.
Yep, yep.
Put together a reel.
Real, yep.
And a couple of photographers, they were kind enough to shoot some fake stand-ups for me.
Right.
Because news directors just want to see
Yeah.
how you look on camera, how your delivery.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent them out all over the country and a bunch of small markets because I did not want to start in New York.
Right.
New York is
A lot
the
of
number
pressure.
one market,
Yeah.
right? Now, this is where you want to end up.
Gotcha.
And so, I sent the tapes out to a bunch of different stations, and I got hired in a city that is now in the news, Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Where
Well, my man got caught at.
Right.
Where the dude who shot the dude got caught at.
yeah.
Wow.
So I got hired by WJAC in
Mhm.
Johnstown, Pennsylvania, which is an hour away from Altoona.
Mm-hmm.
And they hired me to be the Blair County reporter based in Altoona.
Wow.
And so I moved out there. I was 20. I had just turned 23, and I stayed out there for a year. Worked for the NBC affiliate out there,
Mm-hmm.
and made all my mistakes.
Uh-huh.
I was horrible because I didn't go to school for broadcast journalism or communications. But
Right.
my uncle just told me, like, just keep doing it, practice,
Mhm.
go home, get a tape recorder, because we had tape recorders back then, not phones.
Yeah.
Right.
And just practice talking into the tape recorder.
Yeah.
Bring home copy from the station and just read it
Mm-hmm.
so you can hear what your voice sounds like.
Right.
And there's you already know there's a big difference between how I talk on the air
Right.
and how I talk
Yes.
when I'm at home chilling. Right?
Uh-huh.
And even in this setting, I'm torn in my mind. Like, I
Right.
know I'm off,
Right.
but I see all the cameras, and so muscle memory, like, you
Right.
want to be on.
Mm-hmm.
And so, learning to speak in a certain way for television,
Right.
it requires a lot of practice. And that's all I did while I was out there.
Mm-hmm.
So was you by yourself, or you had a significant
I
other?
moved
Oh, so
out
you
there.
by yourself.
I was with someone at the time, but I moved out to Pennsylvania by myself.
So
I rented an apartment. That was $425 a month.
wow.
Yeah, it's cheap out
So
there.
it covered it. But see, this is a long time ago. 420 sound about right.
This was
in Pennsylvania.
1998.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania sound about right.
But it's always cheaper out there
Yeah.
in his head, period. Even though it
98.
went up. So Altoona, when you saw that on the news, when they grabbed the guy, how'd you like?
I mean, Altoona is never in the news, right? Altoona is
I never even heard of
I never heard.
Altoona. I never heard of Altoona.
Man,
How far is it from Philadelphia?
about 2.5 hours.
Oh,
What is it next to?
It's about 3.5 hours from here.
What popular town is it next to?
Nothing. Well,
Oh,
okay,
wow.
it's an hour away from State College. You know State College?
Yeah, yeah.
Where Penn State is.
Penn State, yeah.
So it's an hour west
Mhm.
of Penn State.
No man.
So he probably thought he was gonna get away because he's in a small
Yeah, he
town.
did that
But
purposely.
sometimes it's better
You
to
stand
be in a
out, though.
bigger. Yeah,
Yes,
it's
you
best
stand
to be
out.
in a bigger
I-
town.
I-
People don't know
We
that.
had
Stand out,
a
yeah.
little holiday party in the station this morning. We did like a question and answer. Like, people had to guess the answer who you're talking about.
Mhm.
And so the question that I gave, I said, this person read it. Who's the reporter that on 2 separate occasions met white families in Altoona who told him that he was the first Black person that they had ever seen with their own eyes?
Mm.
And that was me. On 2 separate occasions that happened. When I was out covering stories, I met families, 2 families on 2 separate, they didn't know each other,
Mhm.
and told me that I was the first Black
Wow.
person that they had seen with their own eyes, that
That's
they hadn't seen on
crazy.
television.
That's crazy.
The first Black person they seen with
they
their own
seen
eyes.
they in flesh.
Right.
And that's only in PA. It ain't like that's
Right.
like
It's
with
in-
Wisconsin or something like that.
This is in the middle of the state.
Yeah, I understand. I know how to get down over there, but because I know they got the Amish territory, they got a few little things like
the
that.
Amish heavy in PA.
But what I'm saying is that they hear that is like, how do you feel when you heard that?
I was blown away. I mean, I grew up, born in St. Thomas, grew up in Hackensack. I mean, this is,
Yeah, so
this is,
Yeah, the first Black. Did it make you want to leave?
no. I mean, I knew I had a goal when I was out there,
Mhm.
and that was to, try to hone my craft
Mhm.
and get better so that I could
Right.
leave. I wasn't trying to.
So was
lay
you the
down
first
roots
Black
out
guy
there.
on that news channel?
You know what? I don't know, but I've always wondered that.
Mhm.
And one of these days, I'm going to see if I can give a call back
Yeah.
to call the folks back there,
I bet you were.
WJC, and find out if someone who's around long enough can remember anyone else before me. But I was like a speck of pepper in a mountain of salt.
So your story, you out there for a year.
I was out there for a year.
What's the journey after that?
So I had already sent a resume tape to New York One. Although I knew I wanted to move away, but I just sent it anyway because New York One was relatively new at that
They was
time.
new,
time,
man.
right.
They had only been
was
around
new.
for about 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And I also sent one to News 12 Bronx, which was just launching.
That's New Jersey.
No,
News 12
it's in the Bronx. It's right. It's right there by
So
the
News 12 has a bunch of newsrooms.
Right,
now.
right,
Long
they got
because News
News
12
12
covers
the
New
12.
Jersey.
Right.
No, but 12 right there in the Bronx. Yeah.
But yeah, so
Who covers New Jersey?
News 12 New Jersey has their own.
Right.
12 New
That's
Jersey,
what I'm
but you got
saying.
the Bronx
Right.
12.
Yeah.
They do a lot of community work. They show a lot of
Yeah.
community.
But the
events.
News 12 operation is in a lot
It's
of
different
places.
places. Okay.
News 12, the Bronx was just launching.
Mm-hmm.
And so they offered me a job at the same time that I got the job offer from WJC.
Mm-hmm.
And News 12, the Bronx was paying more. I think they offered me like $28,500.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned it down because I wanted to move out to, $10,000 less in
Right.
salary. But I wanted to move out to Altoona where no one would see me, where no one could see me make
Polish
all
up
of
your
these
style.
mistakes. And so I did that.
Right.
And a year passed. And actually 2 weeks after I got to Altoona, the news director, who has since passed away, Peter Landis, he called me 2 weeks after I got to Altoona,
Mhm.
and my resume tape had just gotten to his desk. And he said, "Hey, I like your stuff. I'm going to offer you a job."
Mhm.
I told him, "Listen, I just got out here. I'm moved out here already. Give me a year
Mhm.
to stay out here. I made a commitment to them, and then hopefully there'll be a job that you'll have open that I can take it. I'll call you in a year."
See,
I called them in a year, and
But that's respectful
You had to
right
give.
there because you ain't jump ship. You made a commitment,
Yeah.
and that's very important. I like to because we have a kids program,
Right.
and we really try to instill some morals and principles into them, and that's very important. You had a commitment with them because you ain't want to just ghost them because you had a situation that's a little more glamorous. You want to see your your journey out
Right.
in PA.
well, I mean, also I didn't want to go there and embarrass myself.
Right.
I had never been on the air before.
Yeah.
I had never done live television.
See, that's the thing right there. You were smart. You knew that, and you said you want to start over here to polish yourself in small town and work your way back. What I like the fact that you did was you didn't you stayed focused on why you went out there and said, I'm gonna stay here, I'm gonna make this work. A lot of people probably would have got a little turned off when the people see the first two black people I ever seen.
I mean, and
But you stayed there,
my
man.
first live shot was a train wreck. It was a train wreck. It was bad.
So were you ever on, sitting up like how we sitting up on the screen, or you was always doing like special segments throughout the day?
No, I was reporting for
Mhm.
the evening newscast.
Okay.
So there was I don't remember, maybe it was a 4, 5, and a 6.
Mhm.
But I would have like 7 stories every day that I'd have to do.
Right.
And when you're in a small market like that,
Mhm.
newsrooms are thin
Yeah.
and there's not a lot of people, and everybody gets to has to carry their load.
Mhm.
So like 6, 7 stories every day, and then I'd be live in the 5 and the 6, doing that every day, Sunday through Thursday.
So how did you feel when the first time you saw yourself on television?
Highly critical. Like, I was doing everything wrong. I was hard on myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was bad. Then we just starting out, deer in headlights, and you're trying to think. I mean, it's second nature now, but standing in front of the camera and trying to just talk about what's happening, it takes a lot of practice.
Yeah. And you were live.
Oh yeah, every day.
So we tell people all the time, live is different from pre-recorded.
Totally different.
100%. That's why I asked you. I didn't know what the format was. I mean, it didn't matter. To
We
what
always
you were gonna
live,
say.
and we always live.
A lot of I don't think I haven't found a show yet that go live like an hour.
Like we do,
like,
yeah.
not sure. Like
We
an hour.
started pre-recording, And then one day, I don't know, we just went live, right? Because we was same thing like you.
Mhm.
We trial and error.
Right.
You understand? We went live and we saw that we got more traction with the live.
Right.
But at the same time, we know that you got to be on your P's and Q's when you're live because you can't
Absolutely.
take it back.
Right.
You can't edit nothing.
Right.
You can't do nothing.
Yeah.
So, and we've been live ever since.
That's the way to do it.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, he just said it. If you go on the podcast, you don't see too many live shows. Most of them are pre-recorded.
Right.
And they got all the graphics, all the special effects. We don't want that.
Right.
We want to do it just like this here. What you see is what you get.
I love
Yeah, there you go.
it. Love it.
So okay, so now you leave.
I left Altoona
Okay.
and moved back home, and I was at New York One for 3 years, and did that for the contract that I signed was, I think, for $40,000, which was not a lot back then. And the contract said you had to live in New York City.
Right.
So I mean, you know, the cost of living in the city.
Yeah.
So I was living in the Bronx and did that for 3 years, and then got hired at CBS, at the WCBS. Stayed there for just under 10 years, and then went to Pix at 2012. And I've been there.
You've been
ever
working,
since.
Jay, man.
Yeah.
I like that.
Hold
man.
up. So
He grinded for that spot.
So you said the contract was I know why they wanted you in New York City because they didn't want to hear you being late and anything.
That, and you know, New York One has a real 5-borough identity, right? I mean, that's what it is.
Right.
And so they wanted all of their reporters to live in the city, to experience it, and to, you know, call the city home. So yeah, I had to.
So I know, yeah, like you said, expensive.
Oh yeah, I lived in the Bronx.
So did they give you
About
any
5 years.
money to help you move there? Like you be like, yo, you know,
Negative.
40.
No, they ain't doing that. I could
No.
tell they ain't doing that.
No,
Dang.
I got a moving allowance to go out to Altoona, but nothing to come back from New York One.
New York is different.
Like, you figure out your way back. We gave you a job.
So now your career, now New York One, now you in a big city,
Right.
9 million people.
Right.
So now you get recognized. Everybody, oh, now your face, you know, they seeing you out and about. Was you driving or was you taking the train?
I mean, you know, New York City was such a different city back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I was shooting my own stuff, and with the big news cameras and carrying a tripod, wearing a suit, and driving our cars, and no Google Maps. So we had Hackstroms.
Yeah.
We had Hackstrom maps,
Yeah.
a pack of them in the car for each borough, right? So you know, like
it was different back
they're
then.
sending you to East New York. You're driving and navigating on the map, trying to figure out. I had a little reporter's notepad. I'm writing my scripts on the pad as I'm driving.
See, that was work.
Yeah, it was.
When we grew up, it was work.
But
These
you know
young
what?
kids got it easy.
In 2024, I still get people who walk up to me and they remember me from New York One. And you know, New York One has such a bonded relationship with the city, and so people,
It
you
blew
know, they
up.
still remember.
New York One blew up quickly. I think because it was like you said, it's more body than city.
Yeah.
Like New York One, and it's all day, like all day.
They're 24 hours.
It's the wheel. So
It's a wheel.
I mean, I haven't worked there obviously since 2002, but when I was there, they would have shifts and there would be live content, but then overnight they would replay it. They called it the wheel.
Right.
So, you know, a lot of the content is taped. And so, you know, this live throughout the day, but they'll be repeating stuff
Right.
over
Yeah,
and
they
over
do.
again.
Most news stations do that. They report repeating stuff. And I guess because people tune in at different times, so somebody might not they might not was heard the news that happened at 5, but they can catch it at 6.
One thing about New York One, you know you're gonna see yourself. If you was on it, you're like, oh, I'm gonna catch it because
Right.
it constantly come on.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
it came at this time. You constantly gonna
Those
see
are
it.
great days. I mean, that was my grad school. You know, a lot of reporters who I work with, they went to grad school for communications, for journalism. I didn't go to grad school. New York One was my grad school.
So
That's where I
when
really
did
learned.
Spectrum tape over New York?
Oh, several years ago. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I mean, New York One is still. I still see the reporters who work for New York One. We work alongside them, just as I did with. I mean, I learned my job from the greats. When I got to New York One, you know, Pablo Guzman, right, who recently passed away.
Yeah.
Jim Dolan, who just retired
Jim
from Channel
Dolan.
7.
Yeah.
David Diaz,
Yeah.
John Slattery. All Lou Young.
Yeah.
These were the guys who, and I was a night reporter at New York One.
Right.
So these guys took me in,
What
under
about
their
the dude,
wing.
Dean Meminger?
I worked with Dean.
Yeah.
But Dean and I were kind of like the same age, right?
Right.
And Dean was the Bronx reporter back then.
Mm-hmm.
And like the people who I just mentioned were the titans of local
Right,
news,
yeah.
the legends, right?
Right.
And I was working alongside them, carrying my own stuff, and they would pull me aside. Don't do that. Go
Right.
talk to that person.
There you go.
And really kind of showed me the ropes.
So they
And-
shaped
and,
your-
and to this
shaped
day,
your
I'm
career.
grateful. Oh yeah, and to
That's
this day,
cool.
I'm grateful to them.
So who would be your Mount Rushmore of New York news?
Of New York local news or just in the business?
New York news, local meaning channel 1, 2, 4, 7, 9, 11.
That's a good question.
Mount Rushmore.
That's a good question. Well, the people who I just mentioned, right? In addition to, McGee Hickey, she still works with us,
Mhm.
but McGee Hickey, she started, at, I believe, Channel 4, then went to Channel 7, or maybe it's the other way around. I worked with McGee at Channel 2. But again, David Diaz, John Slattery, Louis Young, Pablo Guzman.
No, it gotta be 4. Gotta be 4. Mount Rushmore. So are you being biased? What about the Kaidi Charm?
I work with Kaidi now. Kaidi's amazing.
What about
but
Fan
Kaidi-
Champions?
But as long as I've been around, Kaidi's
Yeah,
been
but
an
he
anchor.
giving you what he
We're talking about
his. You
we're
can't
talking
give
about
it
reporters
yours.
in the field, right? So, I mean,
Oh yeah, it's a difference. Yeah,
Yeah.
field reporters and studio.
yeah.
So we do both. We're gonna have some fun.
I mean, Jim Dolan just retired,
Yeah.
and so he's been around for a long time. Jim is a legend,
Yeah.
and Jim was one of those reporters who did not have to, but took the time to talk to me
Mhm.
and just give me different pointers in the when we were out working various
Yeah,
stories.
he looks like a well-respected reporter.
Oh, yeah,
Jim Dolan. When he
100%,
comes on, you
100%.
could tell his style, the way he talk, his
Yeah.
delivery.
Yeah.
He knows he's tight with.
Sade Badawa.
Yeah, Sade is on the anchor desk at 7.
Yeah. So is it the different? Like you said, you got the in studio, then the field.
Right. Well, I mean, when you're on the desk and you're anchoring the newscast, though the anchors are tossing to people like me, the reporters in the field.
Mhm.
So there's been an explosion, or there's been a fire,
Right.
or a shooting,
Mhm.
or we're doing an investigation. The anchor will say, our Pix 11's Jay Dow is out there now with the latest, and then
This
that's when I
y'all,
take
y'all
over.
walk. See, this is good. This is good because like behind the scenes stuff that a lot of viewers don't know,
Right.
the things that go on, and we like to have different people on it. You was the first where we have.
Yeah, you're the first broadcast journalist that we had on the show. Hey, y'all calling 646-628-4264 if you want to speak to Jay Dow. Let me ask you a question, Jay. So what's your story about Mr. G? Mr. G's been around
Mr.
for
G
a
is
minute.
the man.
He's not changing the suits.
Mr.
He's not
G is
changing
the
the style.
man.
He's the man.
Mr. G is the man.
Yes, he is.
Mr. G did 18, 19 years at Channel 2.
Mhm.
And then he's been at Pix for 25, 30. I mean,
Yeah, he got a lot of
this
years.
incredible career.
Right,
And, he is the face
right.
of Pix 11 for so many people.
Yeah.
So many, yeah.
Right? I mean, you say Pix 11, they're like, where's G at?
Right?
Yeah. I mean,
Mr. G's a cool dude,
well-earned
man.
reputation.
Yeah,
and he's
a cool
great
dude.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the newsroom, away from the cameras, just a great guy. Yeah.
So let's talk about your 5 Emmys, man. My man here got 5 Emmys, y'all. Let's clap. He got 5 Emmys,
It's
man.
a few more than that. It's a few more than that.
All right, but I saw in there 5, so he got a few more than 5. But how do you feel when you got your first Emmy, man? How was that feel?
My first Emmy was my first year at CBS
Mhm.
for the Blackout in 2002,
Mhm.
and it was great. I mean, having just spent 3 years in New York One, and
Coming from Altoona to getting all those Emmys, man. That means that everything that you went through from your uncle,
Yeah.
filling out the application, $8 an hour,
right.
coming all the way up to getting Emmys, man.
Well,
I know you're
my
proud of
uncle-
yourself, man. You got to be proud of yourself, brother.
I feel blessed.
Yeah.
I feel blessed,
Mhm.
and I know I'm blessed.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people who don't make it 10 years
Mhm.
in this city. But my late uncle, his name was Harold Dow,
Mhm.
and born and raised in Hackensack along with my late father.
Yeah, exactly.
And he told me, he said 3 things I want you to never forget when I was first getting into the business.
Mhm.
Your name is all you have. So protect your reputation at all costs. Second, don't let anyone ever question your work ethic because they will try to. And then 3, nobody said this business is supposed to be fair. And you're going to get shortchanged and know that's the way that it is, but you got to work around it.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised when it happens.
So how many Emmys you got in total?
17.
17. I just said 5. I saw it on the poster. It said 5, but 17. Come on, brother. That's work right there, man. 17 Emmys, man.
Thank you. Yeah.
A guy who started out in Altoona.
Altoona, Pennsylvania.
It worked.
When last time you've been to Altoona? Since you left?
You
You
know
never
what?
go back?
My wife Shamina, who I met at PIX, Shamina, 2 older daughters that I have, and at that time it was just the 4 of us drove out to Altoona just to go see what it was like, and it was crazy.
Recently?
No, this was probably about 5 years ago.
Okay.
This is before the
Before
pandemic.
COVID, yeah.
Okay.
And I just felt the need to go back to see what it was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and I took them back there, and
Nothing is out there.
I mean, to get to Altoona, it's Route 80 straight, and then you go off the highway like when you get into the middle of the state, and the road to Altoona is you're coming around this bend on like a side of a mountain, and it's beautiful. And then you come around and you see like this city nestled, in this valley, and
What's the population?
So it's a nice,
Oh,
nice sight then, nice view.
I mean, it's picturesque,
Okay,
sure.
okay.
but it's a small town.
Do you see any blacks?
So how your kids? Your kids?
You mean when we went back the last
Yeah.
time? For sure. And there were a few people of color in Altoona when I was working back then, but for sure it was not.
They weren't doing what you were doing.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So you do segments. Your segment come on twice. How many times it come on daily?
It really depends on the producers.
Okay.
So I usually work for the 4, 5, the 4 or 5 or 6 o'clock newscast. So I'll either be live in the 4 and the 5, or live in all 3 on a really big story. And they will, run, my piece will air in those newscasts, and it may also run in the 10 o'clock if the story is really engaging or popular.
Right.
And the morning show will rerun it the next morning. But we have several shifts, so it's if there's a really big story, there's a big chance that the night reporter,
Right.
who comes in at 2 o'clock, the shift that I used to have, they will come pick up my story.
Right.
So, for example, let's just say that water main break in the Bronx that just happened a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
It happened at night, but let's just say it would have happened in the morning,
Mhm.
right? So let's just say it would have happened at 10 o'clock in the morning. They'll send me out there along with all of the other dayside reporters working at all of the other stations.
Mhm.
And then we will all do something for the 4, 5, or 6. The night reporter will come at, show up at like 3 o'clock, 3:30 at the beginning of their shift. And they may do the 6:30 live shot.
Right.
And then they'll definitely do the 10. But our day ends, like they're not going to make us stay continuously. We get to put in a shift and then we go home. They will pick up the same story
Right.
and work, continue working that story, talking to more people if there's another news conference.
Right.
And then that night reporter's package at 10 o'clock will be their own, the story that they write,
Right.
the interviews that they get.
Right.
For the most part, there may be some interviews that they'll take from the story that I put together,
Right.
but the goal is to advance the story throughout the
So the
day.
bigger the story, the more they run it. Pretty much.
Well, the bigger the story, the greater chance that
Greater
the
chance.
station is going to stay on the same
I got
story,
you.
not necessarily with the same reporter.
Mm-hmm.
And then the morning crew gets in at 3 o'clock, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
and then they start, trying to figure out what they're going to do, and then they'll go back out to the Bronx
Mhm.
and continue. Like the cleanup has begun. There's
Right.
mud everywhere.
Yeah.
People have not. They have nowhere to go. They've lost everything,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll try to advance that story.
So the cameraman we saw you at Rikers Island with, is that your permanent cameraman or he works for everybody?
No, it works. We all work with different reporters. The photographers work with different reporters, and I work with different photographers. So I have been working lately with the same photographer.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Jack Carney.
Shout out Jack.
But when I was on nights, you know, for 10 years, I worked with a great group of guys who I still try to work with on special stories that I'm working on, like
Right.
our chief photographer, Tom Cassidy,
Okay.
my partner that I had for on nights, Rudy Bushanti.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, there are some regulars that we're paired up with,
Mm-hmm.
but for the most part, you know, you can work with anybody on any given day.
So the job you said earlier, you were doing your own thing. So you learned a lot about the equipment. Like you know the equipment now that you said you was doing everything by yourself at first.
Well, I mean, yeah, at New York One, I had to shoot all my own stuff.
Yeah.
But New York One is not a union shop.
Mm-hmm.
And so the broadcast stations 2, 4, 5, 7, and 11
Mm-hmm.
are union shops. So there are very fine lines drawn between the editorial, where the side that I'm on,
Right.
and ENG, the engineering side,
Mm-hmm.
the photographer. So, you know, and I respect those rules because that's how they make their living. I don't want to shoot. And,
Right.
you know, I mean, for a few different reasons. A, the stuff is heavy,
Mm-hmm.
but even if it were light, and the cameras are light now, just as importantly, and maybe more importantly, when you are shooting and reporting, it's hard to devote all of your attention to either craft.
Right.
Right? I mean, being a photographer, that's art, right? You know, I mean, when I'm out I just did a ride along with our chief photographer, TC. You know, he's got GoPros inside the police car, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, he's on top of the roof. He's thinking about all these different shots,
Mm-hmm.
lighting, sound, all of these different things that you need in order to deliver the pictures. I mean, broadcast television is the marriage of pictures and words.
Right.
And so, you know, when you have to basically split your brain, you're not able to fully devote
Right.
all of your attention to either. So when I'm trying to pay attention to, is the sound okay when I'm interviewing this person? Is the color off?
Yeah, the color,
Did I
yeah.
white balance?
Yeah.
You know, you're trying to remember all that stuff. And then you forget about the questions that you need to
Yeah.
ask.
Right.
You know, it's like you have to, the art of interviewing is listening,
Yes.
not talking.
100%.
Right. And
That's
so, you know, like I don't really write down a lot of questions,
Mm-hmm.
even for a big interview. I mean, I know what I want to ask,
Mm-hmm.
and I may take down some notes, but for the most part, I am listening to what that person
There
is
you
saying.
go.
And so you're not able to focus
Right.
on what you really need to be doing on the editorial side. And so that's why I respect, you know, the photographers and,
Right.
and the
What's the
job that
heavy
they
set
do.
lady from Spectrum? I hate to say the black sister. I saw her outside Spectrum. She worked for News One, and she by herself. She set her camera up,
Yeah.
right? She put her camera up,
Right.
and then she started doing her, you know, her talking, you know, to the people in the street. But she was by herself the whole time.
Right. I know.
That's what you're talking about.
Yes.
But it's
Yeah.
something you just said, and we was doing this at first, but it's much more comfortable now. We first started out, like you said, writing the questions down. Everybody, oh, y'all need to write. We try to, you know, the professional route, write everything down, what we want to ask them. I have my set of questions. You had a set of questions. It was cool, but like you said, the listening and the energy, it feels better. We do it like this.
Right.
Because now we had a set of questions, and then we bumping heads. I'm trying to get mines in, and let's say my question, what I may want to ask, may be fit for like early part of your interview.
Right.
But now you done went off, and you done, you
Yeah.
know, sometimes some guys
I took you in another direction. that you weren't
exactly.
expecting.
So now it's like asking this it sounds crazy now.
Right.
I'll come all the way back to ask this. This is something I should ask in the beginning. So it's better like this,
Yeah.
without the questions, the listening what you're saying, like I said, the out-tune of different things. We go back, we remember a lot of things you said. And so now we feed into it in the same live timeline you at. So now
Right.
we don't have to ask a question that something that could have been at the beginning of the interview.
But it works two ways though, because we did have scripts early on. You know, we get people bios, and we have all the questions set up. A lot of people like, dang, y'all do y'all homework around here.
Right.
Because we really, you know, when you gave us a bio, we look into it. But we've been doing it together for so long that we can just, like you said,
How
we
many years
listen.
y'all been doing this now?
7 years.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we over 650 interviews, not gossiping.
Y'all pros now.
Yeah, we pros.
It's been a long time. We've been doing a long time.
but indoor and outdoor. Because we go
Yeah.
outdoors sometimes
Yeah.
too.
Right.
We don't just do here. Like
Right.
we do things with a state senator Cordell Clear. We do like a lot of red carpet events.
Yeah.
We caught
People
Dapper
movies
Dan
premiere.
outside before a movie premiere. So we go outdoors as well. A couple things with the mayor as well. But what I'm saying is that
Yeah, we have the mayor
sometimes
once a month. He do a monthly check-in. Right?
sometimes you gotta have these questions on standby. Sometimes because they might be pertinent questions that need to be asked and doesn't have to be said at a certain time.
100%. When I'm sitting down, when I'm doing a sit down with a politician or some other kind of official, and it's just me and that person sitting down, and it's about, let's just say I'm running an investigation. Yes, I absolutely will have a list of questions,
Yeah,
things that I know I need to cover.
correct.
But you can't just rely on that list because,
Right.
as you said,
Right.
let's just say I'm sitting down with Mayor Adams and I'm asking him about teen gun violence. And he starts talking about the number of shootings having gone down, but also talking about the need to increase patrols in the neighborhood. And so let's just say that was question like 10 or 11 on my list.
Yeah.
He opens up with that.
Right.
Yeah.
You've got to, in your mind, you've got to be able to listen and pivot.
Yeah, you got to pivot.
You
Yeah,
gotta pivot.
Correct. You're definitely right about that.
yeah, because a lot of people they say, why y'all don't have the paper in front of you? Because we changed our style. We really got into, like you said, listening more. We have a certain way that we open up, and then once you start talking, that's when we start developing what we need to keep it going, like a natural conversation. Exactly.
That's
Not
exactly what I
scripted.
tell the people when I meet
Yeah.
people in the street. Not sit down interviews with politicians, but just if I'm interviewing a family, and I did an investigative piece, excuse me, on ACS a few weeks ago. This was after that little boy died in Harlem. He was starved to death, right?
On 45th
Oh,
Street,
man.
in
Jameek.
Harlem. Yeah,
Right,
The 3-year-old boy.
right.
yeah.
So we found another mom who was living in the same building who had some experience with ACS. When I show up at your door and there's a camera,
Yeah.
dude behind me with a big camera,
Yeah.
it's got a light on it. It can be off-putting.
Right.
And so, I just tell people, just look at me. Don't pay attention to the camera. This is not live.
Right.
We're just gonna talk. We're just gonna have a natural conversation. Trust me, I got you, and I'm not gonna try to trip you up.
Right.
And the art of trying to get someone to loosen up and relax and share their story with you,
Yeah.
it takes patience
Yeah.
and empathy to understand, especially when you're meeting so many people who are experiencing some of the most difficult moments of their lives.
Yeah.
And you would ask yourself, I mean, I'm very surprised, honestly, when people talk to reporters in some situations, because I say to myself, like, I couldn't imagine opening up my door
Right.
and saying, the things they're saying. Everyone is different. And to that point, I've had the door slammed in my face many a time,
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
so it really just depends, but just trying to get someone to loosen up is the first step.
Is it hard, a story and something like you said, a 3-year-old kid, let's say some kid like 7, 8 years old, and they pass away, then they parents just crying, going through it. Like you had to stay the course. Do it like kind of tear you, because sometimes I hear some of this stuff, it bothers me when I hear some of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the first step in every story is I put myself in the eyes of the viewer, and just as a parent, whatever story I'm working on, in that situation, Shamina and I have 2 little boys. I have a 2-year-old son and a 6-month-old son. I'm looking at that little boy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that's in addition to 2 older daughters. So I have 2 older
So yeah,
daughters, 4
4.
kids.
Yeah.
Two boys, 2 girls. 2 older girls who are 22 and 18,
Okay.
and 2 little boys.
You got some babysitters with you.
Yeah.
So it's good because you know why that's good, because the girls get to hang out and the
Yes.
boys get to hang
Yes,
out.
yes. So Shamina and I have these 2 little boys at home now, and so I'm looking at this little boy Jameek in Harlem, 100%. It hits home.
Yeah, man.
And I think that makes a reporter a better storyteller when you're able to kind of open up that piece of you, so that you can empathize with the person who's sitting across from you.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you were, we met you at Rikers Island, how did you feel when you saw the inmates? Was this your first time at Rikers Island?
No,
Been there several times?
no, not several. It's so hard remembering how many times I've been to places because it's been 25 years, but I do believe I've been to Rikers at least once or twice.
Okay.
Not to that West facility though.
Right.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly it's been the first time that I've been to Rikers in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe I might have gone when I was at New York one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But for the purposes of this conversation,
Yeah.
let's just say it was the first time.
How did you feel when you got around the inmates, right? And
Well, it was not my first time in a facility, in a prison facility, in a jail or a prison facility.
right.
So
So okay, so let's put it like this. So when you dealt with the mom, with the kid that got starving and all the types.
Mhm.
Now you're dealing with inmates and these guys. Some of these guys, did some crazy stuff.
right.
Some of these guys got some meatball cases.
Yeah.
And you see them in that type of predicament. How you feel just being inside there, opposed to them going to like you see them in a cell or something, but you actually in the room with them, you seeing their energy like that.
So I think having done it before helps me.
Mm-hmm.
Having been, having walked into a prison facility, to do an interview with a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first thing is to just treat everyone like people.
Right.
I mean, we're
Did
all
you ever
the
feel
same.
nervous like the first time you went?
No, because I told you can't walk in there feeling like that.
Right.
You don't belong in there if you're gonna walk in there scared. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
And so, I mean, again, this job is dangerous in a number of different ways,
Yeah, I
right?
got you.
From standing out on the street, I'm
Mhm.
blind on three sides for the
Right.
most part when I'm looking at the camera.
Mhm.
So yeah, I've had people walk up to me on the side here and get right up in your personal space, come from behind. The photographer is paying attention to the shot, looking in the viewfinder.
Uh-huh.
So we're both blind in a lot of spots.
Mhm.
And yeah, sure, it's dangerous in that way. Sure, is it dangerous walking into a jail or a prison? Could someone just like run up on me at any minute?
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
But I think when you walk into that specific situation, you have to walk in there not with arrogance, but with confidence and respect,
Right.
and just treat everyone with respect
Mhm.
and hope that they would treat you the same way.
Gotcha. So, what lies ahead for J Dow?
Well, we just started our new show. The station was gracious enough
Mhm.
to give me my own show, and
What's the name of the show?
Community Close Up with J Dow. So it aired.
It started already.
It started away.
I saw it.
already. Yeah.
Yeah.
The second episode aired last week,
Mm-hmm.
and we're starting it off as a monthly show because I still have all of my reporting duties.
Yeah. I started. But let me ask you a question,
Yes,
because
sir.
when they aired the Rikers Island story,
Mhm.
they aired it at 4.
Right.
I recorded it, right? Because I wanted to let them see it because I know they was at work.
Yep.
And then I watched 5. I wanted to see if it came on again. They came in with the community show.
5:30.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Another show.
Yeah. So that was a story. The
Mhm.
Rikers story was just like any one of the other stories that I do for the newscast.
Mm-hmm.
And the Community Close Up is a 30-minute program that is nestled in between the 5 p.m. and the 6 p.m. news.
Mm-hmm.
So it runs from 5:30 to 6 right now, once a month, the second Wednesday.
Okay,
of
once
every
a month.
Yeah, we're starting it off once a month while we get the kinks out, and as long as they want to,
Yeah.
as long as they want to continue airing it right now.
So what kind of shows, not show, but what kind of stories will get picked up for something like that?
Well, the premise for the show is covering issues that are relevant to everyone, regardless of where you live or what your tax bracket is.
Mhm.
I wanted to make sure that it's not just a show that appeals to the hood,
Mm-hmm.
and not a show that appeals to the suburbs only.
Right.
So our first show, we did a segment on screen time for toddlers.
Right.
That's personal for me. And I
Yeah, that
have
was
two
it.
little
I
boys.
saw that.
Screen time, yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah.
And then we did another story on the threat of mass deportation for migrant families
Mhm.
with mixed status.
Right.
And so the next show that we're going to be shooting which airs on January 8th, is one of the segments is about the mental health crisis in the subways.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're trying to pick topics that are relevant to everyone, regardless of where you live.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this mental health crisis that we're
It's
seeing
big.
in the city. I mean, it doesn't matter if you live in Jersey and commute to the city, or if you live in the city, you take the subway every day. I mean, these are issues that we're all paying attention to.
I think we
What's
got
up,
a caller, Jay.
Call, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, my brother? Salute to the beat 139.
Salute.
Peace to the brothers.
Thank you. How you doing?
I'm good, brother. And I just want to say salute to my brother Jay Dow, brother. Really appreciate all the work that you have done over these years. I've been following you for a long time.
Thank you.
I'm from back in the day when we had brother John Johnson.
Yes, sir.
And we had Roger Grinstein and the whole crew, Warner Wolf and the whole nine.
Oh yeah. Let's go to the
But,
videotape.
that I mean, listen, you brothers are very informative. And one thing I can say about Brother Jay is that, he says it like it is, man. I think he's really sincere about the way he reports and gives up information. Because a lot of times, some of the people in the news media, they get a bad rep, and they people sometimes thinking that they being deceitful. But I never got that from Brother Jay, and he named a lot of great legends. And you're a legend yourself too, Brother Jay, whether you know it or not. A lot of people in New York City and in the tri-state. I'm in Jersey, so a lot of people in the tri-state. You said Hackensack. I'm from Patterson, brother,
Okay.
so I'm right there.
I was just in Patterson today.
I heard you mention Hackensack, but a lot of people in the area respect you and respect your work. And I just want to give you, it's good that these brothers are giving you your flowers while you're alive and you can see it. And you just don't know how I think you really have an idea, but you really appreciate it, especially in our community and throughout the city and the tri-state. So I just want to just say salute to you, brother.
Thank
you keep doing what you're doing, man. Your story is good for a lot of the young people to listen, where you started from, where you came from, because we have a lot of athletes and stuff like that, but we don't have a lot of people, a lot of our youth interested in being in the media, becoming journalists, becoming doctors, and we got to push that more. And I like the work that the brothers are doing with the youth. Y'all keep up the good work. This is Brother Perry.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
Perry, my boy.
NOI, brother, you already know. Muhammad Mons, 85 in Jersey, brother. You already know who it is, brother. We support you, brothers. Y'all keep up the good work. And I just want to say salute to you, Brother Jay.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thanks for calling,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Have
Thanks
a
for
good
calling.
day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Peace.
How that feel when somebody, give you your flowers like that? Like, 'cause sometimes people not gonna walk up to you sometimes and say that. Like that was really good. He came out and said these things about you. What he said make a lot of sense. Everybody can't be athletes or entertainers.
Right.
We gotta look up to the people that's in our communities.
Yeah.
That you can touch, that you can see, that kids. That's very important right there.
I'm grateful. And those who are close to me know that I really don't I don't like seeking attention when I'm out and about. So I like staying to myself, with my friends and with my family.
Yeah.
But certainly when people come up to me and say those things, where they recognize me wherever I'm at, I just try to be kind. You're
a real modest guy, man. For a guy sitting next to me with 17 Emmys, right? So everybody don't get an Emmy, man. Emmy is a badge of honor. It means you're doing a hell of a job. Because there's a few people that's vote that they got on there saying this one, that one, and to have 17. So how long you been in the business?
This is my 20. Well, I started in '97 with that news assistant's job.
Mm-hmm.
I did that for a year, and then I did Altoona for a year. So I've been reporting since.
No, we're going
to the business itself.
The business
Since June of 1997.
So
what is that? 27 years.
Right. So you got 17 of them years. You got awards. Continued it. You've been working, man.
Yeah, 26 years reporting, 17 Emmys.
You've been working, man.
Yeah.
Emmy's it's a big honor.
You spoke about your older kids.
Yeah.
Are they in following your footsteps?
No, they're not. Our oldest daughter, she just graduated from Howard, and she's a psych major,
Mhm.
and now she's working locally to continue in her craft. She wants to go into mental health, and our younger daughter is a freshman down at American University in DC,
Mhm.
and went down as a finance major, but I think is switching majors to business. So yeah, no one is following in my footsteps.
You spoke about mental health, and the thing that bothers me, I forgot the guy name, but the incident happened on the train with the Michael Jackson guy,
Jordan Neely,
Jordan Neely.
and Daniel Penny is the man who was just
Yeah.
acquitted.
Yeah, that bothers me because what I heard, they said when he was making threats, they said nobody took him serious because they see him all the time doing Michael Jackson.
Mhm.
And they's like, oh, that's Michael Jackson. Nobody was scared for their life. What I'm hearing, that when he was like, they said maybe he can take his meds, and he was saying, I don't care, I go to jail, blah, 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 before he put him in a headlock and killed them.
Right.
And nobody saved him. It bothers me because, like, he had a bad day that day.
Mhm.
He had a bad day. He got killed, and they said it was no real danger. Everybody said it's Michael Jackson.
Well, that case is so complicated. There's a whole host of people who believe that the mental health system failed Jordan Neely and didn't get him the help that he deserved. There's another segment of people who say that he was not posing a threat and he had no business being put in that headlock. And then there's another segment of people who believe that Daniel Penny did the right thing. And clearly there were people on that jury who felt that way because they acquitted him.
Mhm.
They acquitted
That's
him.
big. He didn't get no time. He didn't get probation. He ain't got nothing. It's a thing like,
Where they were unable to reach a decision on one count and then
Mhm.
acquitted him on the second.
On the
right.
second
So
one.
that's why that happened like that.
But I don't. That was sad because they said people just like this. Nobody went to help him. Like, you see somebody getting choked out. Then it was another guy. The black guy was pretty much assisting him. It was no real threat. Like, you know how long that is? I think 8 minutes. And oh man, I can't say what I want to say.
Well,
Welcome to my life.
Yeah.
You see me sitting here, right? I mean, I'm not,
Can't
we
touch
all,
that, yeah.
We all have opinions,
Right.
I mean, I don't, every reporter working
right.
in New York City
Mhm.
for a local station has opinions.
Yeah.
The job is to not let those opinions
Mhm.
sift into the package, the piece that I'm writing,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I have opinions on every story that I write,
Mhm.
and I write every story that I put on the air.
Mhm.
The job is to make sure that my personal opinions are not seeping into that work.
Correct.
So, all of the things that you're saying are valid because that's the way that you feel. You'll never hear me opine
Mhm.
on the record, especially now with all these lights and cameras, about how I feel about any story.
That's right.
You
You gotta
got to button it up.
you gotta butt it up. Cause I'm a guy watching the news all the time.
Mm.
I mean, I just like to be in the know.
Mhm.
And it's like weird to me when someone tells me they didn't hear something that happened today.
Right.
So you don't really care. I don't watch the news, it's always negative, but you still got to be in the know.
Right.
In the world that we live in today, you need to be in the know. You can go down that block and they just finish shooting on that block because you ain't paying attention. You're not in the know. You walk down that block and you have a problem. You got to be in the know. So I'm saying that to say that newscasters, when they come, or reporters, or what they call the guys that's behind it, casters, right? Newscasters, right?
The anchors on the desk.
Anchors, okay, anchors. So when they're reporting the news, they never seem like they're having a bad. They always present themselves as having a good day.
It's not supposed to be about us.
Right.
And we all go through personal stuff.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about just you might be having a bad day with your family.
Right.
You had an argument with your wife.
Right.
Now you coming to work. You
Right.
got to button that up.
Yeah.
And you got to get on there.
Right.
And you got to perform.
Yeah.
And when you go home, then you go deal with that. But when you come in, you got to leave that at home.
Yeah.
And that's all the time when
That's
they get on the
every day.
air. That's every day. That's what I'm saying. That's professionalism.
That's the job. I mean,
Yeah.
you do it too.
Yeah. You got to do that 100%. You know, they always come on there. Hey, how you doing? No one's having a good day every day. No way in the world. We're human. Things happen. But that's your job. That's what you got to do. So you said you got the community events,
Community close up,
community close-up.
and we usually do 2 or 3 stories every show.
Mm-hmm.
And I miss a lot of work. I mean, and I'm working with a team.
You got 30-minute segment now.
Yeah, so it's 22 minutes of content because you have to fit in 8 minutes of commercials.
Commercial, correct.
So yeah, but it's a lot of work because I'm doing that with the producers that I'm working with, in addition to the stories that we put on the air every day.
Right.
But
So-
it's worth it. I'm enjoying myself.
So that's a little step up, kind of, sort of.
It's an added layer. Of
Added layer.
responsibility.
That's
But
what
you
I'm talking
came
about.
up with that, or they actually
pitched
do
it.
Oh, you pitched
Mm.
it, okay.
Yeah.
So
You've been
that's your
pitching your
baby.
whole
That's
career.
something you. That's something you
Yeah,
want.
got to.
Pretty much. You've been
Yeah.
pitching your
So
whole
that's
career.
something you want to do. So
It's something that I want to do. And you know, they would always tell me, like the people who were mentoring me.
Mhm,
You know, my uncle was my number one mentor,
mhm.
and all the other people in the business are Randall Pinkston. There's so many names who have, you know, people who kind of helped,
Mhm.
you know.
Shape and mold
Right.
you. Yeah.
And my uncle would tell me, you know, like when you walk into that newsroom, pay attention to who's the best, and
Yeah.
take little pieces from all
Right.
those people,
Yeah.
and then pour them into you.
Okay.
And so, you know, like being able to work with all these people and then tell these stories, it requires, you know, teamwork.
Yeah.
You got to work with people.
So with all the different news channels, we got News One, we got CBS, we got NBC, we got Fox 5,
ABC.
we got that's ABC.
ABC is
All right, and then hold up, then we got Channel 9, we got news on Channel 9.
I don't know if Channel 9 is
Yeah,
still
they
using
Fox
it.
5 uses Channel 9
Yeah, they
sometimes.
own that station.
They own that station. I watch all the stations,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
you do.
And then you got Pix 11.
Yes.
Is
sir.
it a competitive nature going on with
Oh,
everybody?
yeah, very.
Let's talk about that.
Competitive, competing with reporters in your own newsroom and competing with
Yeah.
reporters out in the
Yeah,
market.
yeah, yeah. Because see, what you're doing with the community affairs, right? Now, if you look on the next channel, they got some community thing they doing too.
Right.
Everybody, you know, is like, I guess, you know, damn, they doing that on Pix 11. We got to get us a segment. We got to compete because that's working.
You know what?
I mean, what's going on?
So much of what I do
Mm-hmm.
is I try to think about a lot of what I do in terms of sports,
Mm-hmm.
right? I wrestled for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
I ran track for a season. Like the goal for me was to always, you know, I raced triathlon for about 5 years, run my own race,
There you go.
right? So if I'm not paying attention to what everybody else is doing because
Mhm.
it detracts from what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
As if I'm devoting a lot of bandwidth over here and over here, what are you doing this week? You know, what story did you tell?
Yeah.
You know, I got to focus on this, right? And just try to put, you know, with the team that I'm working with, the best product on the air.
Yeah.
So that's what I focus on. But yeah, we're super competitive.
Yeah.
You know, but you have to be confident. I'm confident that if I pay attention to what I'm supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll, you know, my story will be solid. And that's all I can do.
So that's good. I like what you just said. So with the I got that fast because I was just
It'll
Oh,
come back.
Let's jump in there, man.
It'll come back.
I didn't want to cut you off.
Nah,
but-
do it. Do it.
Sometimes you got to do it. So how many times do you on every day?
For the most part.
Like,
Not-
I mean,
not
how many days a
always.
week? So better
I mean,
question.
I
How many
work-
days a week do you come on?
So I'm working 5 days a week,
Right.
but now, I mean, I'm working on a few different stories that may require me to go out and shoot
Mm-hmm.
and be off the reporting schedule because I'm shooting.
Right.
So tomorrow I'm not going to be on the reporting schedule because I have to write this show.
Right.
We're shooting this next show
Uh-huh.
soon, and so I have to write it. So I
So you
write
got to
the whole
shoot it
sh-
and write it.
Well, I don't shoot.
I mean, well, it has to get shot,
Right.
and then you
When I
got to
say
write it.
shoot the show,
Right.
I mean we've already done the pieces. So I did one piece for the show.
Mhm.
2 other reporters are doing pieces for the show.
Mhm.
But when I say write the show, like, you know, when you open, you know, welcome to Community Close Up, blah 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 blah. All of that has to be written.
Right.
So I have to write the entire show.
Mhm.
So I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. I won't be on the air.
Right.
So I'm working every day, but I may not be
Right. I got
on
you.
the newscast just because of the other stuff that I'm doing.
Mhm.
So I remember I was asking you. So the project you pitch to the is it a 6-month contract, a year contract, and do they base it on viewership? Like how long
You mean your employment versus the show?
the show you pitch?
The show I pitched has nothing to do with your employment. So the reporters all in the city, they work on a contract or they're freelance, right? So you may not have a contract. You may just work like per diem, where you get paid every day that you work. And that works for some people because of whatever their family situation is, or maybe they want a contract and they're trying to get one. But there are reporters who are working per diem, and then there are reporters who have a contract. And the reporter contracts in the city are anywhere from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, depending on the deal that you work out.
So the community affairs that you pitched to them, your project.
I pitched that show, yeah.
So how long that's going to be on air?
We don't know. We just started. So this will be on.
Oh, so they don't say, okay,
No,
we give you
I mean,
a-
everything is based on the ratings, right?
Yeah, right.
So
Yeah.
we did really well on the first show, didn't do as well in the second show.
Yeah,
So I think we're just trying to like
So
feel
it's
out.
all about content.
Yeah, all
yeah,
about
content,
Content, yeah.
definitely.
and because the show is monthly, we have to kind of like pull out
Yeah.
a crystal ball
Mhm.
and try to find topics that will resonate 2 or 3 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We kind of like have to predict what people are still going to be talking about because we're pre-taping everything. This show
Mhm.
is live,
Right.
but the community close-up is
Mhm.
not live.
Right.
And so we're trying to, make sure that we are picking stories. You can think about it on a much smaller level, but what 60 Minutes does every
Mhm.
Sunday.
Yeah.
For some reason, for 50, 60 years, people tune into 60 Minutes
can't wait to see
at
that.
Sunday,
Yeah.
7
But
p.m.
what about 2020?
Because same thing, but they know that you're going to find stories that
Yeah.
are compelling,
Hmm.
well written,
Yeah.
and topical, like relevant.
Right.
And so that's the challenge every show, picking those kinds of stories.
But like you said, a monthly is tough.
Yeah.
Even sometimes weekly, like us, for instance, we come on just Wednesdays.
Mhm.
But we also have a forum, right, that people love. They
Mhm.
love our forum with Vito and Keith Cash and myself
Mhm.
will be up here and we speak about things that's going on in the media.
Right.
So, like you said, I can imagine monthly tough because let's say like when the Jay-Z news jumped off, that was on a Monday when it jumped off.
What'd you think about that?
Oh, it's crazy. The girl, they saying she lied, and her father came out and said she lied. But some people say her father got paid off. It's a lot of like little
Yeah.
tricky things going on with this.
Yeah.
And it's a big story.
He didn't co-sign on the story.
Yeah. So it's
There's a lot of layers.
a lot of layers. But
Would you co-sign the story?
I don't,
We not co-sign the
So-
story.
I don't know.
Innocent till proven guilty. Man.
Right.
So like I said, that happened Monday.
Right.
Now normally the key of reporting is catch it while it's hot.
Yeah.
So had we came out on a Monday and that's an hour or 2 hours later,
Right.
ratings to the roof.
Mhm.
But if we wait to Wednesday, it can help, but
It'll
different
cool
things
off
develop,
by
but
then.
it cooled off.
Right.
So I can imagine what you're saying far as monthly.
Right.
Like it can be tough because weekly could be tough because like I said, the story come out Thursday.
Absolutely.
So we finish something come out tomorrow. Now it's like a whole week.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's tough.
that's
yeah.
why we have to pick the right topic.
Exactly.
Right. So the mental health crisis in the city. That's
That's gonna last a minute, so you can get that.
Yeah.
So that's what he's saying. Get something that's gonna be around that that that's not gonna be solved in a month.
right.
Mental health.
Yeah,
So
we're-
no matter when you put it out, it's still
But
gonna run.
even when we do the puff, we don't lose when it comes to
Because he don't go to court till May.
Yeah.
So we can run him till May.
But not
know what
only
I'm saying?
that, the thing is, like last week we ain't do the forum, and a lot of people like, come on, I want to see the forum. Like now it's like something they want to see because they want to hear our opinion
Right.
from our like backgrounds and things like that.
Yeah.
They want to hear what we have to say.
That's
They
because
wanna
you
hear,
guys
I
are a
wanna know what
destination.
you got to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
when it come to Jay-Z, when it come to Puff, when it come to LeBron James or whoever.
I was in the courtroom for Puff's last appearance. The appearance before last, he lost a lot of weight.
He did?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was skinny.
Is he great? He had that great?
I don't remember his
Because I know
hair so
during the
much. but
pandemic,
I just
boy,
remember looking
You
at
can
him.
shave in there though. You clean yourself
Yeah,
up.
Yeah, he
no,
was
but
clean shaven. I think
the
he had a
iron
You
beard.
hair-
cleaned up.
But
But the
what I
food
noticed-
thing is another story.
Yeah, what I noticed first about him was lost, how much weight he lost.
Yeah, stress,
You can
It was
imagine
jail.
right now.
jail, and stress combination.
But
Yeah.
mind you, he said when he first went to court, so that was like, I think that's like a week he lost weight in a week. Because he said when he first went to court, when he got locked
But they
up.
said he wasn't eating nothing in the
So
beginning.
you can imagine how he look now. And he's been in jail a
Skinny.
few months now.
You better start eating
That was
some
like
of
a
that because
week.
you're gonna be there for a while. You better start eating.
Well, they denied him bail 3 times already. So
Yeah.
And it doesn't look good for him. So Jay, before you go, man, can you tell people, what's your social media links, how they can get in touch with you, stuff like that?
JDow TV, JAYDOW TV. And that's where I'm at. Facebook, Instagram. Yeah.
And outside of the community affairs, you got anything else that's brewing?
I try to, at this point in my career, we all have to run on the stories that are breaking,
Mhm.
whether it's a water main break. You saw the video from that water main break.
Yeah, that's serious.
It looked like the rapids.
Yeah,
right?
that
The
thing-
water main was 4
serious.
feet wide.
Yeah, the cars was finished in the street.
So we all have to run on those kinds of stories.
Mhm.
But, I also, at this point, I'm focusing on what I've been doing over the last 10, 12 years, which is, social issues, whether it's homelessness or immigration, public housing,
Mhm.
COVID when we were doing that.
Mhm.
So when I'm not working on the show, I try to pitch stories that are in my wheelhouse
Right.
that appeal to me.
Mhm.
And there's a good chance that they may not greenlight that. We have an editorial meeting every morning, and I'll pitch something that I'm interested in.
Mhm.
But the managers might say, we got your pitch, but we're going to pass on that. We want to send you out to Queens
Mhm.
because this is happening.
That's what I want to ask you about your manager. So they do direct y'all sometimes.
We have an editorial meeting where
Yeah.
all the reporters send in our pitches.
Mhm.
And so every morning I wake up, I read through all of the outlets,
Mhm.
read the Times, read the Post, read the Daily News, read North Jersey, read NJ.com,
Right.
read the Gothamist, read AM New
You
York.
got to stay in the know.
Right.
Yeah.
You read everything and try to figure out, first off, what's happening that I need to be paying attention to, and is there something that I want to pitch based on that?
Mhm.
But a lot of the times, you're working on some of these stories with so many people so often, they'll call you with stuff. And so I'll pitch that. But when you get into the meeting, the managers make the decision. Yeah, we like that pitch. We'll take you up on that.
Right.
You can go do that. Or there's something else happening. Let's table this for a day.
Uh-huh.
Go check this out.
I got you. So, Jay, we thank you for coming to the show,
I
man.
appreciate you having me.
It's an honor to have you here. A 17-time Emmy Award winner and stuff like that. But before you go, can you tell them what's the #1 Harlem podcast show?
The Beat 139.
There you go.
139, y'all know what it is.
Jay Dow,
Amen.
thank you for coming.